Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking The Holdovers. This is an R-rated drama/comedy directed by Alexander Payne, and this is actually my introduction to him as a filmmaker. I've never seen one of his previous films. I know this did get an early debut at a couple of film festivals before getting a limited release earlier in November, but I wasn't able to catch it then. I did now, and I'm glad I saw it. This stars Paul Giamatti as Paul Hunnam, who is a curmudgeon of a teacher who works at a prep school in New England. He finds himself in a bit of a frustrating situation as he's forced to stay at the boarding school over the course of the holiday when all of the other kids and faculty get to leave. Why? Because, well, some kids can't go home because it's either too far away or their parents aren't able to get them home. And the kid that he gets stuck supervising over the course of the break, his name is Angus Tully. He's one of the better students at this school, but he's not exactly the most well-behaved. Also stuck at the school is the chef. I think her name was Mary. So we have basically these three characters stuck in this location for a couple of weeks, and they all are a bit down because of different things that have happened in their own personal lives. And essentially, over the course of the film, we watch as these three characters start out really disliking each other, but as it goes along, they grow, they learn to like one another, and they learn that they can pick up a thing or two from each other, and none of them are flawless. It definitely feels a little bit like The Breakfast Club at times, although this time it's more so delving into relationships between faculty and students instead of just students interacting with each other. By far the best thing about this movie is the dynamic between Paul Giamatti and this young kid. I gotta look up his name. Dominic Sessa. Well, it was his first film role apparently, and I didn't know that, but hell of a debut, that's for sure. The bouncing back and forth between these two, something about it just felt so real and authentic. Based on the things you learn, you genuinely buy Paul Giamatti as this grumpy, frustrated middle-aged man who is just so annoyed with the tendencies of the generation that he's forced to teach. He constantly makes historical references that are sometimes very funny, especially when the students and people that he's making them to don't understand and interpret what he's talking about. And while it is funny and there is a lot of dramatic tension between the characters through a large portion of the film, I also found it to be very heartwarming and kind of cozy, much to Alexander Payne's dismay. I don't know, earlier I read a comment that he made that this is not the reception he was expecting for this film, but a lot of people seem to be feeling the same way about it. And while I couldn't necessarily relate to all of these characters, I was able to understand them as they pull back layers over the course of the film. Not only do the characters grow more close to each other, but you grow closer to them as well. It is a very long film though. Actually, it's not crazy long, but it feels long. It's about 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I would say they definitely could have taken a good 15-20 minutes off of there. And one way I think they could have achieved that is maybe trimming out some of the side characters that don't need to be there. The character of Mary also has a lot of things going on because her son was killed in combat in Vietnam, and he went to this boarding school that she works at now, so there's a lot of depth to her character too. But I feel like it didn't really go anywhere, and the movie didn't really know where it wanted to take it. And I'm not suggesting they just cut her character entirely, but if there is one thing that drags the film down in addition to the runtime, I think it's the fact that there are so many smaller plot threads that get completely abandoned. Because truthfully, what I enjoyed about this most and what I think it excels at the most is these two characters interacting. Angus definitely comes off as a snot-nosed brat of a kid, but over the course of the film you learn things that just make him such a sympathetic character. And same with Paul. I can't stress how much these two actors carry this film. I think the dialogue is well written between the two of them at least, but it wouldn't be half this good if the actors didn't show up to play as well as they did. I would not be surprised in the slightest if the Academy gives Giamatti a nomination, and they absolutely should. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. It's heartwarming, it's funny, it's certainly entertaining, although I do think it drags in some parts and is definitely a good 20 minutes too long. I suppose I can see why Payne would have a bizarre reaction to people finding the movie to be a cozy, heartwarming holiday classic. Because it is about three people sitting in one location together over a time that's supposed to be very happy and festive, and all of these characters are drowning in a tragedy of sorts, but out of that tragedy comes something wholesome, and that just really works, man. I'm gonna give The Holdovers 3.5 stars out of 5. I know you're thinking that's probably a little low. Still genuinely enjoyed the film. I don't know that you necessarily need to rush out to see it in theaters. In fact, this might be the kind of Christmas movie that you should sit down and watch with your family on streaming. I think you can buy or rent it on Apple TV. I'm not sure about other services. It is rated R, but I think that's mostly because of the language and excessive alcohol use. I suppose there are a couple scenes that are a little bit raunchy, but you could definitely sit down and watch this with your family and have a great time. Maybe I'm a little bit of a curmudgeon for giving it 3.5. I was considering a 4, but the runtime was just a bit too long for me. As always, do leave your thoughts down in the comments. How much did you enjoy this? Is it going to be a new holiday classic that people watch every holiday season with their family? And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.